Good evening, everyone. We begin the readout tonight with a stark contrast in leadership. In just 2 hours, President Joe Biden will deliver his first State of the Union address as he faces major challenges here at home and a world transformed by war, as Ukrainians face down Vladimir Putin's naked aggression. According to excerpts released by the White House, Biden will tell the country Putin's war was premeditated and unprovoked. He rejected efforts at diplomacy. He thought the West and NATO wouldn't respond, and he thought he could divide us here at home. Putin was wrong. We were ready. And look, let's just give Biden his credit. What he has done so far is remarkable. Not only using his experience and his longtime relationships on the world stage to unify the West against Russia's aggression, but also reinvigorating NATO and bringing to bear unprecedented sanctions. And in what amounts to a photo negative of the run-up to the Iraq war, Biden made the strategic choice to put it all out there, releasing what proved to be highly accurate U.S. intelligence to publicly reveal all of Putin's intentions before and now during the invasion. In doing so, Biden has fully exposed Vladimir Putin for what he is, a brutal and maybe even mental dictator who is incompatible with the free world. And let's face it, a Republican president with the same facts on offer would surely have received immense credit, including in the press, for what Biden has accomplished. Meanwhile, the Russian president is not only an international pariah, but increasingly isolated, having badly underestimated Ukraine's determination and discounting the possibility of a unified, tough response from the West. NBC News has learned that U.S. intelligence agencies have determined that Putin is increasingly frustrated by his military struggles, and he may see his only option as doubling down on violence, as well as lashing out at underlings over the state of the military campaign and the worldwide condemnation of his actions. Tough sanctions have left Russia's economy and the ruble in freefall, with banks at risk of failure as Russian citizens try to withdraw their savings. Russia's stock market remains closed for the week. The Russian dictator also badly miscalculated his Ukrainian counterpart, Volodymyr Zelensky, who made an emotional speech to the European Parliament delivered remotely from his besieged homeland. Zelensky accused Putin of war crimes and said Ukrainians will not be broken.
We have a desire to see our children alive. I think it's a fair one. Yesterday, 16 children were killed. Again and again, President Putin is going to say that is some kind of operation and we are hitting a military infrastructure. Where are our children? What kind of military factories do they work at? What tanks are they going with? Or launching cruise missiles?
Zelensky received a standing ovation from the parliament, which later overwhelmingly approved a resolution in support of Ukraine. Zelensky also spoke with President Biden today and discussed Russia's escalation of attacks on sites used by civilians in Ukraine. Zelensky told Reuters that Russia must stop bombing Ukrainian cities before ceasefire talks can begin. But we are already seeing the results of an apparent scorched earth campaign by Putin as he tries to regain the momentum he's lost over the past 5 days. Facing increasing humiliation on the battlefield, he now appears to be escalating his attacks, indiscriminately shelling residential neighborhoods. Ukrainian officials say Russia also struck Freedom Square in Ukraine's second largest city of Kharkiv, which has borne the brunt of the attacks. This comes amid unconfirmed accusations that Russia is using cluster bombs, which are known to pose a greater risk to civilian populations than precision-guided missiles. The UN now estimates that in the first 5 days of the invasion, Russian forces killed 136 Ukrainian civilians, and that number is expected to rise sharply. That includes 13 children, one of whom was a 6-year-old who succumbed to injuries from Russian shelling on Saturday in the southern city of Mariupol. And now, before I proceed, I am just going to warn you that the video that you're about to see is graphic and extremely difficult to watch. So, in this terrifying scene, medics worked tirelessly to save the injured child, but were unsuccessful. As they tried to revive her, the doctor addressed the camera, angrily saying, "Show this to Putin. Show him the eyes of this child and crying doctors." Tragic scenes like that one are unfolding across Ukraine right now. But despite being outnumbered and outgunned, the Ukrainian people have demonstrated uncanny resolve and resilience. We've seen them throw themselves in front of tanks to stop their advance. We've seen them taking up arms and stockpiling Molotov cocktails to wage guerrilla war. And in some cases, they've openly ridiculed the Russian invaders to their faces, like in the port city of Berdyansk yesterday. Another video that went viral on social media late last week appears to show a woman confronting a Russian soldier. And while NBC News can't confirm exactly when and where this took place, the woman told the soldier to take seeds so that sunflowers will grow when you die here. Ukraine's Ministry of Internal Affairs has also been releasing interviews with some captured Russian soldiers, many of whom reportedly believed they were participating in military drills, not active combat. In other words, it appears that Putin not only underestimated Ukrainian resistance, but also overestimated his own military's capability. That said, the column of Russian ground forces that is stalled outside of Kyiv is now estimated to be 40 miles long. And if that convoy is allowed to reach Kyiv, Putin could open an even more barbaric new phase of this war. And joining me now is NBC News correspondent Cal Perry, who's in Lviv, Ukraine, and NBC News senior international correspondent Keir Simmons in Moscow. I am going to start with you, Cal. Give us a sense of what's going on the ground, because the sense that I've gotten over the past 5 days is that the resistance has been much stronger and more effective as anyone thought it could be, and it certainly as Putin thought it could be, and that the Russian forces have been much more ineffective and in some cases not even aware of what they were really getting themselves into. Well, what are you seeing?
Yeah, and I think that's certainly the message that the Ukrainians are putting out. Look, it was late last week we heard from the Ukrainian ambassador to the United States who talked about this platoon of Russian soldiers who had surrendered to Ukrainian troops, not knowing really what they were doing there, thinking that they were on exercise. And for 4 or 5 days, I would wake up every morning here, I would turn on Ukrainian television, and it would be a parade of one young Russian soldier after another being interviewed by Ukrainian soldiers. And it was always a similar variation of the same message, which is a young Russian soldier saying to his mother, I don't know what I'm doing here. I want to be going home. I didn't understand why I was sent here. And then today, as you said, we had this missile strike on Ukrainian television, the transmission tower. And so all night, Ukrainian TV has been knocked off the air. I have to say, it's pretty surprising that this is happening on day 6. All of these war games that we heard from the Pentagon were that the communication systems would be taken out immediately. I think it is important because we've also seen the rise of Vladimir Zelensky, the rise of this Ukrainian leader who uses not only social media, but TV to get to the public. Now, where I am in the West, there is a disintegrating and a humanitarian catastrophe that's unfolding. 100,000 people each day have left this country. That does not include the internally displaced people. And when you see the faces of these folks as they get off the train here in the far west of the country, again, 350 miles from where the violence is, they are scared, they are terrified, and they don't know where to go because in many cases, there is nowhere to go. So people are starting to sleep outside. The Red Cross is here, UNHCR is here, but those numbers are swelling. This city is swelling. And for the first time, really, since I've been here in the week that I've been here, you can see it. This war is reaching individual people. It's no longer reaching everybody as a whole in the country. Every single person in this country is being affected, from the fathers and the brothers who are between the ages of 18 and 60 and can't leave, who take their families to the border and leave them walking across the border and then headed back to the fight, to the volunteers who are making the Molotov cocktails to send to the front. Everybody in this country is now engaged in this war.
It is remarkable, absolutely remarkable. I want to go to you, Keir, because it seems that the miscalculations were legion on the part of Vladimir Putin. He underestimated the West. He underestimated the Americans. He clearly underestimated this young president in Ukraine. Is there any sense that there's anyone around him that is attempting to feed reality to him? Or should we expect that he doubles down and things just get worse and more violent?
Well, I think one thing is, Joy, we have to turn to a phrase from a previous European war in another era, and that is no plan survives first contact with the enemy. And what that means is that we are only in the first few days. The Russians will be rethinking. They may well be, and we're seeing this, planning to get bloodier and bloodier in order to win. I think in terms of whether or not there is leadership here from Moscow, well, that convoy that we've seen heading towards Kyiv, I think that tells us two things. Firstly, it is astonishing. There is no camouflage. It looks disorganized. it does not reflect well on Russian military organization. And at the same time, it does tell us something about the ability of the Ukrainians to fight back. They clearly don't appear to have the air power to attack that convoy. Now, it looks like even back in 2014, the Russians have had trouble with organization, with their command structure, and it may be that that is why President Putin is getting so angry, because this should have been fixed and it wasn't fixed. Perhaps we have to turn to another phrase from another European war, the First World War, and that is lions led by donkeys. Because, you know, Joy, this idea that we have had about President Putin as this clear-eyed tactician, this terrifying leader, well, we may be beginning to get a different picture there. And one more thing, Joy, as we prepare to listen to President Biden talk to Congress, to the American people, to the world, what we're seeing is President Putin trying to close down the ability of his people to hear what's really happening in Ukraine. He's closed down the Radio Echo Moscow radio station. That was an independent station. You can hear it, we think, still online, but not on air. And the Russian prosecutor, according to the Wikipedia Russia page, is threatening them, saying they'll close down Wikipedia Russia because of a page called Invasion of Ukraine 2022.
Wow. But good luck with that. In the modern world, people will find a way to get information. I don't think that he can cover up this failure by trying to block the press. Cal Perry, Keir Simmons, thank you both very much. Please stay safe.